Final score at Celtic Park, Celtic 3, Dundee United now, and Celtic take another step closer to what would be a fourth consecutive league title as we continue to just check off the wins in the league. This is Tino with the Final Whistle Show, joined here by Brydo. Brydo, your initial thoughts on yesterday's win?
Yeah, I thought it was a good performance. Dundee United are a good side. Obviously, they were sitting third in the league. I thought I would expect more from them, but I think they came to Parkhead just to avoid a heavy defeat. Really, I think the way they set up and how they played the game out. It was good that we could rest some of the players with Tuesday night's game in mind, and then ultimately it was good for guys like Idah to get on the score sheet. Just to keep his kind of confidence, hopefully, kind of pouring away. So, yeah, a good day's work. I thought the second half was a bit flat, but other than that, sometimes that can happen. So, a good 3 points and another game closer to sealing the league title.
Yeah, it just seemed like a really straightforward one, Brydo. Nothing fancy about it. Good, we'll get to it, but great to see Jota get his first goal back at Celtic Park. Great for Idah's confidence. Callum McGregor adding to his pretty impressive goal tally from midfield this season, but nothing over the top, nothing too exciting one way or another. It was just a straightforward win. And in any league campaign, you need these ones, the ones that you just tick off, just chalk it off, take the 3 points, head up the road, no injuries, minutes for fringe players, all these good things. Tell me this, so were you surprised, as you say, before the game started, Dundee United were in third place, were you surprised at how little they brought to the party?
Yeah, I was, because I actually really credit Jim Goodwin's side as having quite decent attacking threats. The boy Dalby, his numbers speak for themselves. He's a threat. He's a talented football player, I think. Boys like Middleton and stuff like that, they know what it's like. They're experienced in Scottish football. They offer a bit of pace and a decent kind of threat towards our goal. And I just felt like they didn't even try to get those players into the game. I just felt like they were just the usual. One real bugbear is just the time wasting when we go to our home games. It's there all the time, but it's from the first minute of a football match. I just find that like goalkeepers taking 40 seconds to take a goal kick or whatever. And what's more annoying is two things. One, I don't see whether it happens or not, but I don't see Callum McGregor in the referee's ear right from the off. And I don't see the referee saying to them, "Look, guys, we're not doing this today. It's a game of football we played. Let's just go on with it." It's so frustrating. That we're there to be entertained and all the rest of it. And I totally understand it. The teams want to slow it down. I get that, but there's still powers there between our captain and the referee and stuff to actually say, "Look, let's wrap it, man. It's rubbish."
Yeah, so the goalkeeper was Jack Walton on the day, and I found it really frustrating. And actually, we talk about all these different rules, and Arsene Wenger sits on this committee at UEFA or whatever it is to try and make the game better, improve the game, whether it's through how they're dealing with some of the VAR situations, goalie 6-second rule, whatever that looks like these days, and whatever else. A really, really quick way to do it, and it's in the gift of the referee right now. In the next round of fixtures, the referee can say, first time so they were getting by kicks, Dundee United, and Walton was taking the ball from the left-hand side of the 6-yard box, toddling across as slow as he could to the right-hand side, checking the ball, moving it around, putting it down, checking his studs, all the nonsense, right? Taking a long, long time, as you say, 45 seconds or whatever for a kick. The first time he does it, just give him a warning and say, "Listen, next time you do it, it's a yellow card." Just dead straightforward. And the moment a guy gets a yellow card for it, it will stop immediately. In fact, it will stop almost overnight in the game, because players know, goalies know, they can't afford to pick up a yellow. Then they're walking tightropes for the rest of the game. And it would just improve the game all round. And ultimately, the game is about playing football, not watching goalies hold on to the ball or killing time. And I just think it's there just now to make a very quick adjustment to how referees deal with it or not, because ultimately they don't deal with it here in Scotland, and they can point to the watch and say that the lad on the time. They rarely do, and it's just really, really frustrating. Anyway, we'll get back to all things Celtic before we do so. Brydo, thanks to everyone who continues to join us in the live. Some familiar faces join us here tonight, which is great to see. And just a shout out for Paul Maguire. Paul's in hospital just now, and hope he's enjoying it. Hopefully we can entertain you in some way, Paul, for the next half an hour or so. A couple of other comments coming in. Pat McLaughlin, good to see Pat. He says that Celtic now on 119 goals this season. you might see the emoji of a couple of trophies alongside that, because of course we're also now on 119 trophies in Celtic's history. Brilliant to see, Brydo. I suppose at the end of the day, we'll probably find something to moan about. I've had a wee moan already about the time wasting, but 3-0, Brydo, a clean sheet, no injuries, and as we say, another step closer to the title. There's not a lot to be upset about, is there?
No, there's not, mate. And we say that, when we're preparing, doing a bit of research for some of these shows and things like that, it can become almost like routine because the way the team are just routinely going about their business. I think I remember having an argument with my dad's pal, and he was saying about Rodgers' style was too boring, and we don't score attack the same, we don't do this, we don't do that. And I think I pointed out to him that last season, I'm pretty sure we had exactly the same goal difference record as we did under Ange. So there's this perception that Ange's teams were full on attacking and it was more goals. It's really not. I think Rodgers has got a different style, but we still score, as the chaps put on there. We're still scoring so many goals every game. I mean, it's absolutely frightening, some of the numbers that we're seeing. Almost to the point it's a bit embarrassing maybe when other countries look at it to say, think, God, like, how can a team, when you see like a Sunday League thing when a guy, you see the score is like 15-0 and a team's on like 150 goals and the top scorer's got 70 goals in 13 games. It's like, it's getting to that stage where the third best team at that time is coming along and they're accepting a 3-0 defeat. But you're right, as Celtics, as far as we're concerned, the injuries that you mentioned there, that's a big, big thing. I think that the use of the squad, the rotation of the squad, the resting of players, giving players a chance, I think that's testament to the squad that the manager's built over since he came back in, albeit sometimes maybe under duress or whatever, because it doesn't seem to be that plain sailing. But he's got a squad, and I've mentioned this before, it's important he's got a squad of players that he trusts, and those kind of fringe players that he trusts to put in, the Ralstons of the world, that they're happy enough and feel that they're doing that part of the job to get us to wherever we're going to go, be it trebles, hopefully, or qualification in the Champions League, whatever it may be. These guys are doing their bit to help the number one player for that position being prime fitness for maybe the bigger games. Yeah,
spot on. I think what we're seeing on that note, Brydo, is just a real squad effort. The manager makes the call to freshen up again. Obviously, right now we're in this middle ground between two ties against Bayern Munich, and you've got to make those changes. You've got to keep guys fresh, and I think he managed it well again. He's got that quandary. Does he make wholesale changes? Was it 9 against Wraith Rovers, for example, or does he just make a handful, which is what he went for yesterday? On that, well, quickly, just as a start, we talked about the goals there. Celtic have scored 76 goals in 26 league games, giving you an average of 2.92 goals per game in the league, which is just hugely impressive. And they do look like scoring every time they take to the park. And I think the fact that we're switching up the front line at different times, Jota coming back in, Yang trying his best to impress, Idah looking to keep up his form, and Idah just being Idah and everything we've seen from him this season. There's guys there that are just raring to go every opportunity they get. I nearly forgot Nicholas Kuhn. How could I? All these guys have got goals in their locker to varying degrees, and I think that's what you're seeing. There are goals as well from midfield, Callum McGregor, etc. But I just think that front line of Celtic, whoever gets the nod out of the three, or to be in the three, are really rattling in the goals, and it's brilliant to see. Squad-wise, yeah, so he shakes it up a wee bit yesterday, and certainly at the back, it's the full-back positions he changes. Tony Ralston coming in for was probably the third time in 5 or 6 games deputising for Alistair Johnson and doing a really solid job. No fuss, no glitz and glamour, just a really steady job at right fullback and being part of a team that keeps a clean sheet on the day. Let's spend a wee bit more time though on Jazzy Jeffrey Schop, who slots in at left back. There's calls for him to start on Tuesday against Bayern Munich, and I think he's done fairly well in his cameo role so far. I can't work out if the manager picking him from the start yesterday is with a view to him playing on Tuesday, or is it to keep Greg Taylor fresh for Tuesday? But what do you think of Schlupp so far and his chances of starting against Bayern Munich?
Yeah, I think he's done just fine, mate. I think it's natural to have nerves. I think he was a bit nervous in his first game when he came on with a few iffy touches, and then it's kind of the same, on Saturday. But I thought he did really, really composed, professional performance, really, for his kind of that's his first start, isn't it? So, I think it's important that he gets minutes in his legs so that we can do that. He nearly scored an absolute wonder goal. I mean, smashed off the post. That would have been the I think of the phrase, but I doesn't actually matter.
The icing on the cake.
The icing on the cake. I was going to icing on the cake, the cream of the crop. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I just think they had a really tidy performance, and I think he for probably the first real time he's actually shown us what he can do. In the system that we've got, he was tucking it in midfield as well, which we know he can play there anyway. So I think he's a good option. Regarding the Bayern Munich game, I think he's just played on Saturday so that Taylor was rested. I think the fullbacks, obviously, I think Rodgers will be thinking that they put in a lot of miles in those games, and it'll be the same, if not more, on Tuesday night. So I fully expect Taylor to start. Whether that's right or wrong, I mean, I was quite kind of tough on the goal that we lost, and some people say that was too harsh, but that's opinions, I suppose. But attributes fail Greg Taylor sometimes. I've said it before: the speed, the strength. Schlupp definitely doesn't. He's strong. He's very, very fast. But I just don't think he's been there long enough and played enough. And I think Taylor will almost certainly start at left back.
And I'd lean towards that as well. I think that is most likely the case. But if for any reason the manager decides to go with Schlupp, then so be it. I think we'd all be relatively happy. Schlupp himself must be enjoying it, because if you look at his numbers this season alone, just in terms of appearances for Crystal Palace, he is very much, or was very much, a bit part for them, a player right on the periphery. And now he arrives at Celtic and he's playing in Champions League games in front of full houses. He's travelling out to play against Bayern and Munich. There'll be Rangers games round the corner, cup quarter-finals and hopefully semi-finals and finals beyond that. And he'll check himself. That's a guy at 32 who's been round the block. He won the Premier League for Leicester back in the day. And he'll think, this is all right, eh? That, there's something in this. And a lot of these players, will spend most of their career in the English Premier League, and they'll certainly be very well paid to do so. But this is a different animal, coming up here and being part of what Celtic is. And you just need to look at how Kasper Schmeichel eulogises on Celtic in the same way that Joe Hart does as well. It's a different kettle of fish altogether up here, and I think there's lots to enjoy. There's things that the Premier League offer that Celtic can't, but very much vice versa. And I think Schlupp is a guy who, regardless of whether we move to keep him on beyond this season or not, I think he'll be enjoying life here. And yeah, let's see what happens, come Tuesday night, and what decisions the manager makes. Anything else notable about the lineup, Brydo? Obviously, Luke McCowan steps back in. He was alongside McGregor and Hatate up top. I think most people predicted it based on keeping certain guys fresh for Tuesday night. You had Yang, Jota, and Idah up top. Any thoughts in general about the other selection choices?
I think the only one would be that Idah played so much of the game, and that would maybe raise questions over, well, does that then mean that he's not likely to start on Tuesday night? That's a lot of us were kind of saying that at the game. We're thinking that 60 minutes, they might take him off, and the game was kind of sorted by then. Would they take him off and put Kenny on just to give him some minutes as well? Maybe try and get his first goal. But he didn't do it. He kind of waited to the 80th minute or whatever, and worked out well, because obviously he scores a screamer and then gets taken off, helps his confidence. But I don't know. That would be the only thing, really, mate, to be honest. Jota was no surprise to try and get minutes into his legs and just get him to the kind of peak fitness that Rodgers was talking about. Rodgers was very clear about that pre-Bayern game, that it was an easy choice because Jota wasn't at that level to play against Bayern from the start. Would that mean a week later that he is? I'm not too sure, to be honest. So it's probably raised more questions than answers, to be honest, because he played so much of the game. Yang was obviously going to get a start, I think, and he done reasonably well. But there was no crazy surprises, mate. No, there wasn't at all. I think if Bernardo was fit, he'd have started with McCowan and McGregor in the middle of the park as well. But obviously he's not. So Hatate and Engels kind of shared the job, and McCowan got his 90 minutes, which is good as well.
Yeah, and a shame for Bernardo. He's going to be out for 4 or 5 weeks, as covered just before the game on the pre-match show. And we are a wee bit light in that area, as I was saying, 4 players now for those 3 positions. So you want to keep the fingers crossed that McGregor, Engels, Hatate, McCowan all stay fit and available from here to the end of the season. Let's get to the first goal, Brydo. It comes 23 minutes in. It's a pretty familiar sight this season. Callum McGregor picking up the ball in a good area. You're cutting by a few players, and it's a nice, tidy, low finish. All I seen was another assist from Yang, but talk me through your angle.
It was about a minute before, 30 seconds before, I thought it was a pass that McGregor should have made an option to go beyond the kind of midfield line in United, and he didn't. And I'd done that whole where you turn to the person next to you, which is my dad, and was like, he's not going to do it. If he doesn't brutalise it, and bang, bang, he scores. My dad went like that. I mean, I like that. Yeah. So although it felt like it proved me right, it certainly made me look a bit stupid as well. No, I just think it was that penetration to get in behind. We weren't creating lots of chances. We were very, very comfortable, but that sometimes it takes a Callum McGregor to kind of just do one of those going to be 5-yard, 10-yard bursts in, quick feet, and he's managed to find the goal again. His numbers are pretty decent this season, so yeah, it was just a case of him bursting through those kind of lines. Maybe that sometimes some fans maybe thinks he doesn't do it enough. Maybe, I don't know, but he certainly, when he done that, he's got the quality to go and do that, and that makes us think maybe we wish that he did do it more, even although his numbers are pretty good. Yeah,
he's getting back to the goal scoring form of the Callum McGregor we used to know. He used to play higher up the park, and he was always good for a goal or two. And his game has changed. It's evolved in recent years that he now plays this defensive midfield role, but he's still got it in the locker to go and find it was a very accurate effort on goal. He's not smashed it. He's just placed it firmly into a really good area, and the keeper wasn't able to get across to it. I'll need to check. I think it's maybe 7 league goals for the season, and Brian O'Donnell, who sits next to me, he says he thinks that's the first goal this season from inside the box. All the ones so far have been from range and 20 yards plus further out. So interesting to see him make his win. It was fast feet, to get the shot away, and it kind of set the ball rolling for the afternoon. The next goal, Brydo, kind of is the goal we've all been waiting for since Jota returned. There's still a buzz in there about Jota being back at the club, and that'll stay around for some time to come, I think. And we had that moment, or he had that moment against Motherwell where he got the goal on his return, and you seen the emotion in the player at that stage. Ticking off the goal at Celtic Park was another step in Jota's return. You can talk us through the goal in a second as well, but also the celebration. He absolutely loved it, and I think he's loving life once again as a Celtic player. Yeah, it's just great to have a player who emotionally gets it. We've seen a bit of negativity regarding how it was Aidan McGeady and Chris Boyd were talking about his reaction when he got his first goal at Fir Park, and a lot of nonsense made out of that. But it's just when a player he comes across as quite an emotional person, and he plays like an emotional person. And I love the players that do that. They really get it. He doesn't only just have the silky skills and the touch and the quality and the class. He does put in the work. He does do his running. He does work back. And, probably our goal of the season so far was him that picks up in the left back slot, that type of thing. He's always doing the work. But yeah, when he gets the ball, you're just we're expecting something to happen. And he done a few things on Saturday, and they got us out of our seat, but no more than the goal that he got. And it's kind of what we expect of him on that left-hand side. Pretty poor defending. I think his boy Fotheringham just lets him go. And but he's still got to find that bottom corner, and he just caresses it round, and it's a fantastic goal. And I felt like when we got that, we needed it so that we could then just settle into the game and then do what we wanted to do by taking players off later on, getting that 2-goal cushion. It was really important that we got it, and I was delighted that he got it. And as you say, the celebration is what as fans we want. We want to see players that get it, and I don't think it's false either. I think he genuinely feels the way he feels. I think so. I think he's had this 18 months in the footballing wilderness, and anyone, if they want to, can question whether he should have moved there or not, money and morals and football and all these things. But ultimately, he's a young guy who made a call. I think in his own private moments, he'll maybe acknowledge that it was the wrong call, certainly for footballing reasons. And he now finds himself back doing something he loves. I don't know Jota's full backstory, but I could fairly strongly suggest that he'll have been football mad from the moment he was able to kick a ball. And he's obviously grown up and came through the Benfica Academy and been at a big club, and then found himself really making his way in the senior game at Celtic. And he strikes you as a guy that just loves the game. Some players don't. Some guys, will pick up wages and see football as more a means to an end than a living, and that's also fine. That's part of the modern game as well. But Jota is a guy who just loves playing football, and he loves the support he gets and the adulation. And long may that continue, as I say. And it remains to be seen whether he'll start on Tuesday night against Bayern, but he'll certainly feature at some point. And I think that in itself is enough to excite a lot of us as fans. Brydo, 2-0 going into half-time. The hope would be that would open the floodgates, and you might see what we have seen quite a lot in recent times, 4, 5, even 6 goals from Celtic across the 90. But it wasn't quite the case. And as I say, I've no great issue with it, and nothing really to moan about. But what do you put it down to? The second half was a wee bit flat. It was a wee bit uninspiring at times. Any great reason, or is that just the way it can go sometimes?
I think it's just the way it goes sometimes. I think when it's 2-0 and obviously, if you're a player that thinks you're going to be playing on Tuesday night, for example, I think subconsciously you're like, let's just get through this. The game's just about won. No injuries. Don't do anything stupid. I don't know whether you're maybe running at 70, 80% as opposed to the 100%. I don't know, really. I mean, I've never been in that the luxurious part of playing that level of football to know at the press what games like on the Tuesday night against Bayern Munich are going to be like. Do you know what I mean? So it's a big game for them all. I think maybe there's a part of it that's just going to get through it. They've ticked the box, 2-0 lead. And then, maybe the players that are fighting for a position would have done more, maybe. But I don't know. I think it's just one of those things, mate, to be honest. And you can't be 100 mile an hour all the time. So yeah, it was a bit annoying because we kind of thought, we might get 3, 4 and 5-0. And there's also the way Dundee United as well. They kind of pressed us a bit more in the second half at the start for the first 10, 15. So we didn't really get going. Engels came on and kind of made a bit of difference when he came on the park. But yeah, I tell you what doesn't help. The referee, when we play the best bit of football of the whole afternoon, through that, basically through 4 against 3 or whatever, and he blows for the foul and brings it all back. And he was like that the whole day, Nick Walsh. Quite clearly, obviously, it's in the back of his mind that he's getting a row for big foul, and he's not, and he's trying to get back on side with them because he sent Diamandi off for slapping a boy in the face. It's just, it was awful. It was absolutely awful on Saturday. And just, again, as a spectacle, he's been involved in the game long enough to know that he doesn't have to pull that back. Anyway, I digress. I think it's just one of the things that that happened in the second half. And we got a bit of a spark, but it was 10 minutes before the end when Idah smashes it in the top bin. Yeah,
it's taken a bit of time to get that third goal. And at that point, the day's just about done and dusted, and we knew it wasn't going to be a rout of sorts. You're right to pick out Nick Walsh, because I think, the best referees are the ones that you don't really notice. They allow the game to flow. They absolutely step in, when there's any heavy tackles or whatever. But for the most part, their job is just to, facilitate the game and just allow the game to be what it is. And too many times Nick Walsh called it back, and there was some niggly stuff. And yeah, it just seemed like he's an experienced ref. I think he's far from the worst as well. But as you say, maybe there's some subconscious stuff that he feels he needs to be balancing things out. But that, at any level of football, when you've seen Callum McGregor breaking, and as you say, it was 4-on-3, every ref goes, I'll let this play and I'll come back and book this guy. He was so quick to go to the whistle, and it's like, I'm sure in referee teaching school, whatever that looks like, the advice most of the time would see, and with any incident, just give it a couple of seconds and see how it plays out. And if it's not going to flow, then by all means call it back. That was an easy one. And I think an experienced ref like him got that wrong, amongst a few other calls. I also digress. Let's get back on track. There's a few changes made, as you highlight. So around about the hour mark, often when Celtic do make their changes, Idah comes in for Jota. Arnie Engels comes on for Hatate. 10 minutes after that, Taylor comes in for Schlupp and Nicholas Kuhn for Yang. Just going to touch on Yang very briefly, not going to dwell on it too much, but folks know that I'll always chat about his contribution or not. And I think he was fairly flat yesterday. I don't think... It was a good opportunity for him to kick on after some recent good form, some goals and some assists. Fred, though, says that Yang was decent past few games, but back to bang average yesterday. Not releasing the ball when we were clean through was criminal. That was the big moment. He was breaking at pace. Was it Idah that was alongside him? And Celtic do get the foul. He is fouled, but he had the opportunity to play the sharper pass. Another opinion, another comment from Bradlad88. He says that it's all happening for Yang just now. He said it as well, that there is a player there. Before the red card at Hearts last season, we were relying on him making things happen. And then Nicholas Kuhn has now come in. I thought he did an okay game, Brydo. Nothing more, nothing less. And as I said, for Yang to have a future, he needs to consistently perform goals and assists, and maybe he fell a wee bit light of that on the day. Anyone else, anything else of note in terms of the guys that came in? As I say, Idah, Engels, Taylor and Kuhn coming off the bench. The most important thing at that stage was no big injuries for me.
No injuries was the main thing that we're all kind of looking for, because the game had been won by the boys that started the game in the first half. Maybe the most exciting thing was the Idah's song getting sang and him liking it and smiling and laughing and joking. I thought that was quite good. I hadn't heard it before. I don't know if it's a brand new one or not, but he deserves a song of his own for sure. I just think that the boys come on. I thought Engels done pretty well. There was two fouls that he didn't get off the referee. I could not for the life of me work out why he didn't get a foul. He done well, but I think it was just a case of getting through the 90 minutes and tick the box and shower changing up the road, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think that's all fair. Before we kick on, we're heading into the kind of final section of the show, Brydo. But I can't not highlight this comment from the Flying Haggis, who said this is the only channel that could make a miss EastEnders live for on a Sunday night. So we appreciate the support, Flying Haggis, and everyone else who continues to join us here. Brydo, let's get to that last goal, because it's one worth waiting for. It's Adam Idah. I got the vibe that the manager had various calls to make in terms of changes to the front three, and Johnny Kenny obviously came in at the end of the piece. But I do think he kept Idah on with a view to him getting that goal. I think it's important, and it's kind of smart man management. Strikers thrive on goals, and I think before yesterday, Idah was in 4 goals in 3 games. And he had an okay game overall, but it looked like he was potentially going to finish the game, not adding to that tally. And it's a brilliant finish. I'll come to you for your thoughts on the finish in a second, but I thought what was notable, he was involved in the build-up play, and he dropped back into the centre circle inside Celtic's half, and he laid a ball back, and I think he had an option to kind of turn and run with it, and he laid it back, and call it boos, call it groans, call it whatever, the murmurings of discontent went around, really visible, right? I'm not, somebody else, there was no boos. There was, right? There was real frustration that he chose to pass it back. 20 seconds later, ball's in the net, right? And that's the bottom line. So we can get frustrated, but there's a reason why Celtic play in such a way and why they build up in such a way. And at 2-0 up, and a game that you're very comfortable in and you're controlling, there's no need to boo that. I thought at the time, I'm going, what's that all about? And then, as I say, seconds later, Idah does the job. What about the finish?
Oh, stunning. My seat is perfect for the angle of it, and it was just like, when he takes the touch, I thought at first, it was a heavy touch at first, but it's just the ball sat up, and he definitely got that in his locker. I think when he first came, you've seen him trying a few of those types of shots, and I've not seen it that much since this season, really. But he's definitely got it in the locker, and I think you're also right as well. I think there's 2 reasons why he kept him on. One, because he wouldn't start on Tuesday, which I don't think is the case. I think he will. And I think the main reason is to try and get that goal and keep that confidence going. He just strikes me as a player that is always looking about to see what people think of him. I just wish that he just had a bit more confidence and be a bit more gallus than that. Like, see, your Celtic's number 9. Like, just go and do the job. Like, you're the main man right now, so just do it. I think he's still looking for acceptance or something. I don't know what it is, but it certainly comes across that he's not overly, it's not like he's expecting to score. That's what it's like when he scores. It's kind of like he's looking about, like, how do I celebrate? It's like I feel like I want him to be so confident that he's going to score, especially in Scotland. He's got the ability to do that, and I just feel he's still not there with that yet. But that finish yesterday, I thought his overall play was okay yesterday, by the way. I thought it was all right. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was all right. Just overall, I thought maybe he was just a bit heavy. I feel the ball's got to, for the size of him, it's got to stick better than it was. The pass you're talking about, yeah, I think everyone's got a right to kind of, it's not boo, I mean, don't boo them, but I think everyone's, because I remember it really well, and I was like, it was a stage of the game where we were wanting the team to kind of kick on, and it was like the fourth choice of a pass. He could have played 3 other passes that were forward, and they picked the fourth one, which was back. Yep, we got the goal at the end of it, but there's umpteen times where we do that and we don't get a goal. But yeah, I suppose we'll have to concede. The Bhoys will have to fall on their sword with that one. But yeah, I thought his overall play was pretty decent, but the finish was absolutely out of this world. Stunning, one of the best goals of the season. That I don't think there's any doubt of. And we've had a few. We've had a good few crackers this season.
That sounds like a really long-winded way to say that you and your dad were booing at that moment during the game.
My dad wasn't. I've got a bad habit of doing that when I'm sitting next to someone. He's got a bruise, little bruises in his left arm. You can thank Adam Idah for that.
Yeah. No, you're right, though. In terms of his overall play, he was perfectly fine. He had a good chance with the header. I thought he'd done everything right, actually, in the first half. The downward header, good save by the goalkeeper. Similar, actually, to Kasper Schmeichel's save from Harry Kane during the week. And he also tried to unleash a couple from the edge of the box, but they were well blocked by the United players. He's clearly hungry to score in every game, as you'd expect. And I agree. I think he just needs to let go even more in terms of, just playing with freedom. He still seems a wee bit tense, and he's not in that kind of state of flow that you're seeing from some guys like Nicholas Kuhn and Dyson Maeda, for example. It's not easy to get there as a footballer, but I think at some point he will reach that place, and we'll see the very best of him. But in the meantime, he's doing a pretty decent job. And as I say, we'll see what happens on Tuesday night. We've got a comment here from Ian. Ian's a Cork lad, as is Adam Idah, so he's very fair-minded when it comes to it. He says that Maeda starting through the middle on Tuesday wouldn't be a slight on Adam Idah, and if it happens, then Idah's got a right to feel very unlucky. A great strike yesterday. So we'll see. There's huge calls to make, and we're going to preview the Bayern game on the weekly show tomorrow night, and we'll see what we come up with. But there's a lot of really big decisions for the manager to make, and we'll see what he does. A couple of final comments, Brydo, as we round off things on the Dundee United game. Comment from Fred. Fred Williams says the only thing missing yesterday was a Johnny Kenny goal. I've been seeing this in a couple of games, as a lot of fans have. He's coming on. He's getting some minutes. You were fairly outspoken on Johnny Kenny. Not a lot of time for him to do anything yesterday, but there was one moment there was a ball flashed in from the left-hand side. It was a striker's dream. It was there to be attacked, and unfortunately he wasn't able to get on the end of it. And that would have been nice if it had got something there. And last comment from Pat McLaughlin, saying that Aberdeen, incredibly, are the only team who have scored at Celtic Park in the league this season. We're 26 games into the campaign. 13-ish of them will have been at home, give or take. They only lose goals in one game. It's really something, Brydo, and you can't discount the work that the manager and the players have put in to get ourselves in this position, which is 13 clear with just 12 games to go. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I think as a team and a style, we defend from the front. Obviously, Kasper in the defence, and we've had to change the defence a couple of times, with injuries and things like that. Scales played a lot of the games at the start. Trusty's obviously there now. It's his jersey to lose. Carter Vickers has had his injuries from time to time. Ralston's came in for Johnston. Idah and Taylor, and so it's not necessarily always been the same defenders as well. But as a team and the way we play, I think with the quality of teams in Scotland, I don't think they can compete with the work rate, the energy from the front in order to kind of hurt us. Set pieces and stuff, I think we've been a lot better at, with the exception of Harry Kane the other night, obviously. But I think traditionally we'd maybe be a team that played really good football, but maybe be weak from set pieces against teams like Ross County and things like that. Kilmarnock, physical teams. But we've stood up to all those tasks, and to be honest with you, they don't get the ball up the park enough to create corners and set pieces. So I think as a team and a unit, from front to back, the manager has them all
very, very assured in what they have to do and what their role is within that team from when we don't have the ball. And I think he touched on it last year that maybe we weren't doing that. And then from pre-season, you remember he says the best pre-season he's ever had at any club.
Mm-hmm.
Typical Brendan statement to make. I'm sure Miff had a field day with that one. But it's like, it's very much continued on from that. And I think there's that positivity around it. The only thing that's not positivity is some of the comments coming in for somebody that's quite clearly under the influence. We can't control that, I suppose.
You just block and ban those folks, so you can't control it.
That's it. So I think just in general, being a Celtic fan is fantastic. So and we've got, if we keep that defensive work up on Tuesday night, then we stand a chance. But we all know the difference is the quality of players we're playing against, and it'll be a real test. And if we come through it, it'll be one of the best nights in Celtic's recent history.
Yeah, sure would. And as I say, we'll spend a fair bit of time on that on the weekly show tomorrow. The one other thing I'd like to cover at some point is we had 15 corners yesterday to Dundee United 0. And 15 is a lot. Sometimes I bet corners. My dad generally bets corners. And sometimes you're betting like over 7.5 or 8.5 corners, that you might land on, say 8, 9, 10 in a run-of-the-mill game. 15 is a lot, but ultimately we're not doing much with those 15. They're going into dangerous areas. Engels can whip it in a dangerous area and McCowan hit a few. But what's the end product? We're not getting goals. The conversion rate isn't quite there, and I think that's something would be well served to try and improve on. Is Austin McPhee still available? Get him in, set piece coach. Yeah.
The idea of set piece coaches, it just blows my mind.
Not having it.
No, I'm not having it at all. Like they get a corner, and all of a sudden he's elbowing the manager out the way. I mean, he's at Aston Villa, that McPhee,
and he's just landed a job at Portugal as well.
Oh, did he? Unai Emery's out the way. Unai, I've got this covered, and it's like a cross into the box. Shut up! Like you don't need a clipboard. And he's pointing at everybody, telling them they must turn around and just go, Austin, shut up and leave us alone. Like there's not that many goals from set pieces, and you don't concede that many. It's a part of the game that some teams are pretty good at. It's a part of the game that some teams are. But if every team's got a coach, does that not just mean it's the exact same if every team didn't have a coach?
You've confused me.
Absolute garbage, waste of salary. Honestly, get it in the bin. Absolute nonsense. Set piece coach.
You've made your feelings very clear. Do you know if things don't work out for Yang, I'm going to start an Austin McPhee campaign to get him or somebody like him up to Celtic. But Brydo, that's another story for another day. Cheers for joining us here on a Sunday night. Thanks to everyone who's joined us here and who continues to support the Celtic Exchange podcast. There are links in the show notes for this episode to see how you can further support us throughout this season. As mentioned, we'll be back tomorrow night, Monday night, with the Celtic Exchange Weekly. Remember, that only goes out on a Monday to subscribers to the channel. Check out the CelticExchange.supercast.com for details on that. Otherwise, it's out on general release on Tuesday morning. But all that aside, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Another 3 points for Celtic in the bag. We'll see you all again really soon.